Okay, I think I'm going to get us started. I'm sure others are getting ready to join us as well. I see more people coming in, but I know a lot of you. I'm Julie Campbell, and I manage all the nonprofit partnerships at Share. Melissa and Sarah, we're all in the same coffee shop. Can you tell? We're excited y'all are joining us this morning. A couple of announcements. We kicked off Hispanic Heritage Month yesterday, and through our Spotlight series. I don't know if y'all saw it on Instagram or through some of our communications yesterday, but we're really excited to highlight our Latin American-led nonprofits this month. So Sarah has some beautiful photography that we're going to be showcasing this month through Instagram, and we've got some really great articles that are being written by some of the Latin American leaders in Charlotte. So look out for that. And always, we love it when you reshare the things that we post just to get the word out about what we are featuring for the month. I wanted to let you know we've been busy planning our 2022, can y'all believe it, Share Shine programming, and we've got an amazing roster lined up. I'm pretty excited about it. And so we'll be rolling that out in the next few weeks and announcing those plans. And we're also busy planning for Giving Tuesday CLT, and I'm really hoping to inspire generosity in our community. And each year we brainstorm unique ways that we can engage the community and help provide you some great resources to help run your promotion. So be on the lookout for more information about Giving Tuesday CLT, November 30th. Okay, so this morning, y'all know we've got Better.com in the house, and we're so excited to hear from them. And I'm going to introduce Demi and her teammates in a few minutes. But first, one of the things we've always loved about Share Latte back in the day when we were in person was to get to talk to each other. So in that spirit, we've continued breakout rooms. And we also really like to keep I like to call it a table topic, but it's really just our prompt when you go to a breakout to say hi to an old friend or maybe meet a new one. We've got a couple of questions that are on theme for this morning. And they are, Melissa's going to put them in the chat right now. What new home project have you started over the past year and a half, or what project might be on your list? Or did you move, buy, sell, or sell over the past couple of years? So we thought those might be fun and lighthearted and hopefully on topic. They're really intended to just get you talking to each other. So Sarah is going to send us to breakout rooms, and then we'll come back and get started with our program with Better. Enjoy. Welcome back. I would love to hear all those projects. Or if you moved, I feel like there's been so much movement, right, over the past year and a half. Okay, so I'm excited to welcome Demi Knight-Clark. She's an amazing nonprofit founder, executive here in Charlotte. Demi actually leads the Southeast region for Better.com, and many of you know her from the nonprofit world as she is the founder of She Built This City. Their mission is to empower women and girls in construction, STEM, and automotive trades. She's amazing, kind of a rock star here in Charlotte, and we're excited actually to hear about Better.com's presence here in Charlotte, their vision and goals, and upcoming programs for 2022. Demi, I'm going to actually turn it over to you to introduce your teammates. I think Dana and Rich are also joining us. But we're really excited for your time and to hear from you this morning. So thank you.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I see some very familiar faces in this room, which is awesome. I see Maureen. I see you. She's always the smiliest person in the universe, not even just Charlotte. So I love seeing Maureen. You are one of my favorite humans for so many reasons, but a lot of wonderful people in this room that have phenomenal ideas and are changing Charlotte. So first and foremost, I have to thank this community because honestly, I've had more in the last year people saying like, wait, I thought you were in the nonprofit world. I've always been in the for-profit world. It's funny, I was just talking to Teddy McDaniel from Urban League the other day for Better. And he was like, my head's got whiplash with you. Like what in the world? So I came out of the for-profit space to start. I was taking a sabbatical actually. I went to Yale, decided to do that. I'm 40 years old. I'm going to do the legally redhead and go back to school because I was raising my children, like so many of the women here, and maybe parents. Let me make it gender neutral. I was in the seat. I was the only woman in the room, so that's a big part of the story. But also what led me to Better. So I don't want to make this about She Built the City. We have a phenomenal executive director, Latoya Foston. If you don't already know her, we would always love to work with you all. We were in C20, which really helped us to introduce ourselves to Share Charlotte, as well as Julie and team has been phenomenal in putting us people and places and things together in Charlotte when I was a fledgling founder saying, I've done this for-profit thing for 20 plus years. This nonprofit world is kicking me in the tail. So it's a different world, as you know, and some of you are cradling and straddling both places. So if I can ever help with that, just on the side, you're all my friends, and I want you to be successful and have very flush budgets, whether it's from Better or not. So I just want to see the Queen City thriving, and you're all doing phenomenal projects. So that is kind of my quick story. I started in the home building space, was with the publicly traded home builders most of my career, did that little sabbatical there, traveled around the world, climbed Kilimanjaro. You can hear my story. I've got all kinds of them. The TED Talk, who knows when that's coming. It's on the list of things to want to do. But then I went to Yale, and while I was there, I started She Built the City. It was actually my team members at Yale who kicked me in the pants to say, like, stop talking about it and just do it. Who cares if you fail? Who cares if you have $1 donated? Just do it. And then I met folks in Share Charlotte as well as C20. So it was just a phenomenal journey from there and still continues. So then Better found me. I was consulting while I was doing She Built City. There was always the plan for me to go back into the for-profit space. That's what I know and what I do best. So that's why I'm back here in for-profit. And I'm so excited to have teammates here that can tell you about Better and tell you how you can get involved with us. It's definitely an onboard ramp. I know several of you have already asked, like, so the same way that I've done it, where I'm like, so company X, we see you're new and you have 1,000 employees, you know, so I get it. I totally get it. And we'll be absolutely honest with you of what we can do in stages. So I'm super excited from a sweat equity standpoint first, and then moving into hopefully a bigger 2022 CSR corporate social responsibility strategy. So sorry, that was terrible because I did not say hello and introduce you to my teammates on the call. So, and yes, please use the chat. This should be interactive. We've done this Zoom thing for way too long, right? Miss each other in person, but safety first. So please make this interactive. We definitely don't want to talk at you. Ask questions at will, and we'll have multiple outlets for you to contact us after this for Better. And then again, you're always available to me just because I want to see your organizations thrive in any way that I can help you or connect you to others. So Dana Honor is on the call today with us. She is our East Coast representative and lead for our government affairs team that's out of New York. So she is predominantly working with our civic leaders between the mayor's office, the governor's office. There's a lot going on, moving parts and pieces. We have our grand opening and our campus opening in November. So you'll receive most likely a virtual invite for that, but we'll have our announcements in November for what's next for us in terms of hiring and recruiting. Some of you we're already working with from a workforce development standpoint. And then we also have, I believe, Laura Francis Marin. I know she's a little under the weather, but she's with our diversity, equity, inclusion, and people org team who is helping out while we're sourcing. We also want to put in the chat, if you all know of someone, we are actually looking for additions to our diversity, equity, inclusion team. So senior manager could be located remote, ideally in New York, but we know that you all have some power players in your, I'm gonna date myself and say Rolodex. I work for a fintech and I just said Rolodex. That's how old I am. But we know in your cadre of LinkedIn connections, or maybe you have somebody within your team who's interested in this. And again, we can have the conversation about remote. It's not my team hiring, but I am on the interview slate. So I'm very excited for that. I'm extraordinarily passionate about equity. Yeah, so I will post that in the chat right now. But Dana, I want to put you on the spot because next for you is to introduce the company. So Dana, was that a good enough? Please add if I'm not doing you justice in terms of introduction.
That was perfect. Thank you so much, Demi. And so nice to meet all of you. Like Demi said, I am on our public affairs and public policy team. I work with civic leaders, officials, and groups like all of yours to push policies that help our communities that we serve, and see how we can make this world a better place for all of you and our consumers. So just a little bit about Better. We are a digital-first homeownership company offering mortgage lending, real estate services, title insurance, and homeowners insurance. Since our founding in 2016, we've been committed to helping families realize the dream of homeownership by making the entire process of homeownership easier, more affordable, but most importantly, more accessible. We know that homeownership in the United States has historically been one of the most significant determinants of intergenerational wealth, but access to homeownership is often deeply inequitable. Because of that, we've been taking a close look at how we can make the home buying industry more inclusive and accessible, particularly for traditionally marginalized populations. We strongly support efforts to help pinpoint and address systems that have contributed to unequal outcomes, whether disparate or systemic. Demi is going to hop into a little bit more about us in Charlotte specifically, and some of the community development work that we have been focusing on recently and look forward to working on more. But just to give you kind of an overall sense, some of our recent community development programming has focused on workforce development, education, and financial literacy. And I will kick it over to Demi to get into a little bit more detail.
Thank you. Okay, so what does this mean for you all? I'm a Carolinian myself. I grew up as a very young child. I'll say the decade because I'm going to go there. You already know I just said Rolodex. So I was a child of the 80s in Matthews, North Carolina, before the Panthers. Oh, I see you, Sean Flynn. Before the Panthers and before 485, we still went up Independence Boulevard to get into town. My dad worked uptown, and you never stayed there on Friday at nights, right? It was a ghost town. So it's so exciting I brought my family back. We moved due to relocation for my dad's job when I was in 6th grade, right before my brother was slated to go to Providence High School, the first year of Providence High School. Can you believe that? That's how old we are. And he was like fighting it. He's like, no, South Mac. So any of you who did that transition, my brother was right there, my older brother. So moved back with my family in 2003. I'm in Fort Mill. So I'm absolutely hyper local to what Dana is saying, as well as Julie introducing us. So we have, I think many have seen the article, which we're very proud of, because we are a different kind of company. We have hired we're now at just under 1,200 in the Charlotte 16 county region. So if we're going off of the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance, we've done that since August of 2019. Fairly phenomenal statistics. We like to say that's sustainable. I can easily see some folks that are statisticians saying and we've been called out on it and asked many, many questions of wait, is this real? Are you going to have to go through, once the pandemic is over, making other hiring decisions, or how do you do this as you return to real estate? So that's a big part of my life right now. My boss is Rich Duff, who may or may not be on. I don't know if he's West Coast, so I didn't know if he would be able to join us today. But we're working on return to work strategy like so many others, but I don't want to go too far into that. That could be a whole different conversation. What I want you to remember about today, if you remember nothing else I know you have a lot of folks coming in here from the corporate space saying this is our big calling, these are the rubrics we're looking for. These are kind of the financial opportunities from grants, from board positions, et cetera, all of that and all of the above. But what's different about us? We're not a bank. So we are absolutely respectful and lovingly in a banking and financial town. There's a lot of good that is done in that community. We are partners to banks. So one of our biggest partners is Ally. We do white glove relationships and mortgages for Ally. So we look to partner with said banks. We don't compete, and we certainly don't have the level of employees and CSR strategy funding, from things like the wonderful, wonderful partnership that LendingTree just did with April. Phenomenal stuff with $1 million. Love how they put that out. It is changing kind of the scope of all of us of how we're thinking about that and saying what's true impact and how does that, is it standard to do these it's open in April and it closes in June? And we're not the type of company that does that. So for us, bringing it back to Better, how do we take what some of our peer relationships in that CSR space have done in Charlotte in the last couple of years, especially in the fintech space? We are a fintech. So we started with mortgages. That's algorithmically based. It's a huge word. But we were able to do that online, starting from our CEO, Vishal. He's incredibly passionate. Go look him up on LinkedIn. He is an advocate for change. And if it got me off the hump of saying, you know what, I've started a nonprofit, but it was March after I started and the pandemic just happened, but this phenomenal company came and recruited me. And for me to say yes, those of you in the room know that's a big stamp of approval, that there's a lot of good going on. So we're not just a company that puts mortgages out. We absolutely, his motto is equity and access for all. So if you remember nothing else about this call and this Zoom, Better should be associated with equity and access for all. We are absolutely, I don't want to say trailblazing because others should be doing this. We shouldn't be the ones going first. We just want to make it so normalized that it is part of the financial landscape. It's part of the lending landscape. And now we're going into real estate. So you're seeing some of these companies merge. Saw another one just last night with a mortgage company that is also taking on the real estate sphere. So we have what's called Better Real Estate. So we are looking to be end to end. So I know many of you are workforce development. So that's why I'm saying the whole story Better of where we go in 2022 is why we're hiring and ramping so much, is we truly are taking on from agent experience. We're partnering with the Allen Tates, now Compass in many spheres, the Better Homes and Gardens real estates, and saying we will be a concierge to them for their customers. We will also have our own real estate agents on site, zero commission. So that's the other thing to remember about us is Vishal was so passionate when he was passed over for a loan on his own, and he saw all these middlemen in the way, or middle people, to gender neutralize in New York. He said, you know what, me and my wife, we're just gonna do this. We're gonna start this back in 2014. So he's stuck with that. And clearly we have had success with his groundbreaking thinking of saying, let's remove these barriers. We don't need commissions. We don't need our mortgage loan originators or MLOs do not need to be making commissions. You don't need to see anything as a consumer. So that was step one. Now we're doing the same thing with real estate of zero commissions. Our numbers being dialed a lot. So we're very busy right now, but that is kind of the way of being transparent that we are. So you see that from our customer facing side, which is very important for us, for you to know, and anyone in Charlotte being a new company coming in. And then also from an internal side, it is what drives every single one of our 9,600 plus employees around the country and the world. We just had an acquisition in the UK called Trussell, which is changing the landscape for the UK. Anyone from that area knows it's almost impossible to get a loan, nothing like the United States, and it's absolutely inequitable. It definitely goes to the upper middle class white population. So that's the kind of things that our company says that's a priority for us. We need to go and change that landscape. Equity and access for all. How does that funnel down into Charlotte? That's what I'll get to right now, is the types of programs to look to for us, for your organization, are groundbreaker projects. They're things that, we may not have right now available to you. Oh, there's a grant, window opening. It's the end of the year. It's XYZ amount of money, opens in October, closes in December. What we want to do is start from a ground level of sweat equity. As we are returning to office ourselves, we're changing the way that we're doing that. And we hope we are leading the way for other companies of how we've painstakingly talk to our employees, those 1,100, 1,200 folks in Charlotte. What do you want to do? We have 3 modes of work that are going back starting in January. We are preempting that with our opt-ins, we call them, for November into our campus uptown. But really our return to work is January, and there's 3 modes. So even if this helps you think about this yourself in your own organization, because I know a few nonprofits have asked, like, how are you skinning this cat? What are you doing with this? Is 3 modes for us. We have what we call office mode, which is up to 5 days a week. We do have regulatorily compliant folks. So folks that are required to be in the office per their license. So that is office mode. We have flex mode, which is people that would be 2 to 4 days a week. And that is based on a persona of somebody that is an office seeker, a boundary lover, someone who's a social butterfly. So we're working on those personas right now. Everyone gets their office mode October 11th in our 1,100 plus population and 9,600 plus across the US organization. And then we have remote mode. So that could be someone working in Chester, South Carolina, who's an underwriter who says, we call it squatting in. So Avengers thinking, we are a squad. We could squat in for a day pass and experience an event, but we are working from our homes. And one thing to the equity and access for all is especially as myself. I think I self-identified as a mom, a parent, as well as a woman who has had to give up a lot during her career. I didn't have the chance to go back to school until I was 40 plus. I was raising my kids, getting carded at my daycare because they didn't see me a whole lot, and getting favors from friends when I was in my 20s and 30s. We want to make it a different landscape to keep women in the workforce, to keep those who are LGBTQ plus in the workforce, to keep families in the workforce, quite frankly, and really all. So equity and access for all. But what this remote is really opening up to us, no matter, it's industry agnostic, right? Is to keep women specifically and those who are underrepresented in the workforce in any way, shape, or form. Our perks are insane. We are very family friendly. We have FSA stipends for our families with daycare and with after school care. So if you are in these arenas, we are always looking to say, hey, how can we funnel that into a partnership? Certainly with the YMCAs, et cetera, of saying like, how can we funnel local after school care to those programs? So our Total Rewards would be interested in talking there. And I feel like I'm buddy trailing, but there's so many different ways. Yay, yes, Shay, we love it too. How can I bottom line this, because we want to get to questions, is basically, yes, and that's where, Melissa, I am getting way off topic because I get passionate about Charlotte, and I know the people in this room, this Zoom room, you all are doing some pretty phenomenal things, and really had to look at pivoting, right? The dreaded pivot word in the pandemic of saying, how can we make corporate offerings different, or community partnerships? I know a few of you are hiring for community partnerships managers. I see you, Alyssa, still trying to funnel somebody your way. But really, like, how do you make this work, and what are corporations looking for to partner with? That is a big one. If you're not already thinking on what we call the total rewards landscape, how can your organization, and this is outside of the grants, right? An easiest onboard with companies like ours is thinking of the pain that the average worker is facing, right? Either it's getting the jobs, so it's workforce development. We're always looking for pipelines, especially for underrepresented populations. Veterans, large group for us to be looking to onboard into our organization. Those from marginalized populations or who have not had the same equity and opportunity. You know where I'm going on that in terms of making sure that our Charlotteans all have equitable access to the same job. Doesn't have to be from a university. We have a Google certificates partnership right now. We want to absolutely give credence to the universities in town and the opportunities they are giving their graduates. However, we also want to look differently at how the skill sets that our companies, I say beyond me, it's more of our industry, and that's a challenge we're putting out to the industry of fintechs, as well as those that train for skills. For us as a company, I will tell you, I just talked to new hires yesterday. We've done a phenomenal job of onboarding virtually, and we're a company that can work virtually. Now we want to provide that in-office experience and culture back for our employees. So especially in Charlotte with our campus, it is going to be just quite a place for folks to really be taken care of when they actually do for team activities come to the office. If they need to be there and they have to get on the light rail or use a bus pass or get in their cars to come uptown from Chester, South Carolina, or Waxhaw or Cabarrus or Bessemer City, wherever that is, they are going to be rewarded by being in the office with a lot of perks. So we do a ShareBite relationship. This is another way of partnering with us. We've talked to Black business owners of the Carolinas with their Food Truck Fridays, thanks to Black Philanthropy Month, by the way. So thanks to Share Charlotte for that, of saying, we work with ShareBite. It's a one-to-one meal. Every single one of our employees is paid their lunches every single day. That's a $15 stipend. That's 9,600 people. That's 1,100 people in Charlotte. So if we can somehow funnel to a business that you serve, I'm thinking of Community Matters, cafes, et cetera. As long as it is on Apple Pay, we can actually sign them up. Our employees, whether they're working remotely in Charlotte, those 1,200 people, or they are coming into the office, we do group orders in the office. So we would work with that restaurant or that nonprofit directly, or those food trucks to say, hey, we would do an order by 10:30. It comes up to our 12th floor, and that's for up to 400 people. And there's 3 restaurants typically. ShareBite works where it's a national partnership for us. One goes to Shared Harvest meals. So it's a one-to-one, just like Tom's relationship. We pay for a meal. We also have a meal going to those who are hungry. So that's great on a national level. How that bubbles down locally is if you would like to, if you either have a piece of that in terms of your nonprofit to food security or something that we can support where our individual employees, it's that granular, could literally say, I can find you, I can order my food and Apple Pay it. So as long as there's Apple Pay, they can give you $15 a day to food. So would love to explore that. That's an easy onboard for companies like ours. So trying to give you different ways of looking at it. Of if there's an opportunity to go for a grant with someone, absolutely. You all have grant writers, or you're grant writing. You are multitasking and doing it. I remember that as a founder. That's wonderful. But also look for those pockets of opportunity. I know I was doing that in a few of my talks, how to successfully kind of raise a nonprofit. Look for the blue ocean strategy with corporations. We're always looking to partner. That's a little easier to our capital expenses. We can say yes faster when it's things like that. If it's a ShareBite relationship, or it's daycare facilities / partnership opportunities for after school, those are what we call total rewards benefits. And we can have that conversation a little sooner because it's an immediate need and a pain point for our employees, meaning we're already spending the money for that, and we would love for that money to go for the greater good and to lift as we climb, right? So that would be one way. Workforce development, recruiting, and partnerships is the biggest right now. We are not stopping in terms of recruiting. So back to that workforce development, and our strategy is for our, I don't want to say entry level, I've never liked that term, for our onboarding into the company positions, we call them sales development associates, customer experience, we have end-to-end coordinators. Those are all, we hire for hustle and grit. We hire for how adaptive you can be. We're an extraordinarily change-centric organization. So those who like static environments do not thrive with us. You have to love change, but we train all of that. Knowledge transfer to us is trainable. So we do not look for statistics and MBA degrees for the folks that we're hiring for these positions. That's why we did so successfully in the last year and change during the pandemic. We would never wish for a pandemic to have a great hiring strategy, but we were able to tap into laid off employees from travel and tourism. And some of you referred them to us. So now we're expanding that strategy to say, who in Charlotte needs a job that they have the hustle and grit? We have a Goodwill Opportunity Campus partnership. We're talking with the Urban League of Central Carolinas based on their workforce development programs and partnerships that are easy. We can bolt on with a 1 hour, this is how you come to better lunch and learn, that whether we have a signed MOU for a partnership or not does not matter. So tell us what your population is that you serve. And if they have the skills that match based on some of the rubrics we can tell you, we would love to get them in our pipeline of applying for jobs. That's really easy. That is not something that takes a 6-month set of conversations, right? To say, hey, how do I link up with better? Education and financial literacy and digital divide. We are members of Tech Rising Charlotte. So thanks to Rob Focus for really kicking that off with the Avid Exchange. Many of the other corporate partners that you already work with are in there, TIA, CREF. We've got Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Lending Tree, et cetera. So more of the companies that you might have been used to hearing, but we're really turning that on its ear as well as to what we're doing for that community. So lots of opportunities to, if you are in the tech space or you are serving kids who are looking at, meaning high schoolers, middle schoolers, who are looking at the next era of the workforce. What is the future of work to them? What is remote work? What is gaming? And what does game theory do? I know Michael from Potions and Pixels, just phenomenal work that he does. Sorry, phenomenal is my word of the day today. But he is one of the most popular seminars at the Tech Rising Idea Incubator that Share Charlotte was a part of, our next one in November. So be thinking about that, of that future of work, how that applies to the population you're serving. If that is a 18 to 21-year-old or even a 14 to 18-year-old population, think outside the box on, I do this with She Built the City, of apprenticeships. We do have traditional apprenticeships. Those are needs in many industries, but at the same time, what is it in 2030 when those kids are entering the workforce? It's AI, artificial intelligence, it's virtual reality, it's augmented reality. And so those are the topics we want to bring to life for those kids now. Financial literacy, as Dana said, clearly something that's very important to us because of equity and access for all. One program that is very strong to us, we could spend 2 hours of the beta programs that are happening, which is basically pilot projects for us and Better that give me goosebumps every day. It's what wakes me up in the morning. One being bias and appraisals. I'm so excited for this project. It's stood up in our corporate office in New York by Jillian White, who is our head of collateral. And she realized, as a woman of color herself, she was a certified appraiser. And she said, I'm staring around at an aging population of white males in appraising. And it's a serious problem. We can talk about redlining. We can talk about all of the things that go back to US housing policy in the early 1900s, and even way back beyond that, but we'll stick to the 1900s because that's one of the most formative policies of mortgage, RESPA, any of you who know redlining, et cetera, were really, unfortunately, put into law that we are trying to undo now, appraisals being one of them. So there's mass bias in appraisals. We have a very large and growing project started in California where we have hired our own employees and we are training them ourselves. We are making sure they are from every represented population and can speak to our borrowers. I cannot wait for that project to come to the Carolinas. But if you are in that space of equity and access for all in terms of home ownership or land trust, et cetera, we're always interested in those style of partnerships of having a seat at the table to say, how can we help with this? How can we, through Dana's team in government relations, alongside your team, if you have government relations or civic relations departments, change the landscape of Charlotte? We know that the West Side is getting a lot of attention right now, but as a colleague said to me the other day, what about the East Side? We've forgotten about the East Side. So we want to be in those conversations where there might not be anybody working in that space yet. Better wants to work in that space. It might be rolling up our sleeves and just being sweat equity for a while. We might be able to do a micro grant to start, but that's the type of projects we're looking for, is the ones that no one is addressing. Or you have been screaming at the rooftops saying, I have just wanted someone to see this who has a potential for having a bigger voice in it, outside of the government, outside of the civic relationships you might have here, more from a corporate space. Look to us for that, especially in the financial literacy, digital divide, education space. Racial social equity events, we're incredibly proud of the fact that we have given Juneteenth off for 2 years in a row. It's very, very strong to our employees. Pride is incredibly important to our employees. We really hope that's going to go off next month with the actual parade. Black Lives Matter lit a fire in our organization. I will say I joined last year in March. June followed, and we know the events of June of 2020. It struck a chord here. We are an incredibly diverse company. 50% of our employees in the front lines of Charlotte do identify as non-white. I couldn't be prouder of that as a leader. I recognize that I have one perspective, and I am someone who identifies as a white female. That is not always the most popular person in the room in 2021. So I make sure that our room is full of people that have perspectives opposing mine, or just layering over it to say, what about this? What about this? This needs a voice. How do we do it? So as an organization, I will say we globally lead up from that. And again, why I'm here is the fact that we do have the opportunity to have so many voices at the table. Our leadership is 60% female, or identifies as female in our corporate office. Yet another reason I joined was just to say it's not only one gender specificity in the room. The best part that I tell our new hires is just the fact that you know, for years, I started a nonprofit around it to say equity and inclusion in the trades. I was the only woman in the room, and I was white. So how much voice did that give for women? Not a tremendous amount of representation, but it gave something. At Better, I don't even think about it. I never have to think about it because I always have male peers who are sponsoring us, or those who are non-binary, which we do have non-binary self-identifiers in our company. Who sponsor and say, okay, let's hear more. You don't have to amplify. We don't have to go find another woman in the space to get into the room to say, hey, we back me up on this. It's already here at Better. So what really we're working on is that inclusionary strategy with our employees. A lot of companies have the D checked off, right? Of saying like, we're there, we're great. That's where the work begins, as you all know. The hard work begins when you have a diverse organization, but you're really working on the equity and the inclusionary behavior. So a big part of our life is working on internal mobility. So if you, again, like, I feel like I'm making it a mass swath of ways you can work with us. So if that's not bottom line enough, we can give you a one-sheeter at the end of this, but workforce development and recruiting, massive for us, and an easy on-ramp to us if you were in the veteran space or the marginalized populations of Charlotte, or in a space where there is mass layoffs / people out of work, families, mothers wanting to stay in the workforce. We are actively involved in that space. Education, financial literacy, digital divide, same. Racial social equity, same. So where are we going in 2022? So we can get to, I want a good 15 minutes of questions really quickly, because I feel like I've talked at you and I'm so sorry. I want this to be a collaborative environment. Grand opening of our main campus flag. So that is our office campus in November uptown. Very, very excited for that. Again, we have 1,200 employees that 50% of them will be most likely what we call flexing in. So coming in some shape or form to the office 2 to 4 days a week starting in January of 2022. About 25% of our population will be fully remote across the 16 counties of the Charlotte region. So hopefully influencing the economic climate in their local town. And then 25% will be in office. So if that helps you to kind of say how many will be in Mecklenburg County right here, I will also tell you, throwing out a lot of stats, 60% of our heat map locally actually lives within the 277 limits. So isn't that crazy? Welcome to, we have a heavy Gen Z population, not to label them, but straight in that 20 to 28 range. And many of them are renting uptown, NoDa, Plaza Midwood, South End. So once we can get to the volunteering stage and back to an in-person strategy for volunteering, we're all in. We're absolutely all in. If you have virtual opportunities, get them to us now. We are happy to help. So that is a big thing for us in 2021. So the remaining calendar quarter for us is getting that office open in November, really kicking off a culture for our folks that are coming in person, and partnering with organizations to get our folks, which we have some phenomenal folks. There's that phenomenal word. A lot of brain trust of Charlotteans that grew up here, as well as some transplants with in-migration, coming out of Uber, coming out of Twitter, coming with some really big experience who could be on your boards. So I really want to immerse them. We want to be an organization that is known as a company that has immersed itself in the community. I love Lowe's, so proud to have them as a partner for She Built the City, but I think Marcel and the team over there, just amazing stuff they have done and have absolutely immersed for a corporate headquarters. This is not a corporate headquarters for us. It's more, we have HQ 2s, 3s, and 4s. This is a supplemental satellite market for us that's massive, but we are probably closest geographically to New York. So we certainly have the eyes on us. To be a headquarters here for Lowe's, they've done a tremendous job of setting the bar high to say, this is how you roadmap a community strategy. And we look to that to say, how do we put ourselves in the community? It's not just a grant opening. It is absolutely saying, we want our folks involved on your boards, on your committees, to say, how can we make equity and access happen in a micro sense as well as a more macro sense. And then when in time, talent, and treasure, when we can get that treasure to happen, we absolutely will happen, whether that's matching with our company, in terms of our employees and putting the 1,200 people and their financial potential to work, or if that is a micro grant population to go towards 2022. So how to engage with us in the meantime? Board Sweat Equity. Right now, Julie and team have been very good sports, let's call it, because they're working with us. We have 60 people who signed up and said, put us to work right now. They're executives in our company in our local Charlotte region who would like to get involved with you. So if you're at any of the above with that workforce development, recruiting, families, we have several employee resource groups, one of them being a very strong one of Moms in Touch and Parents in Touch. So we have a great workforce of parents here who are very passionate about saying we want to help children in the Charlotte area. So not necessarily in our scope normally when we would say, oh yes, that is a category we serve, because we do have so many parents. 45% of our staff has a child, which is a little different thinking for a fintech, right? That's not all of our cities, but we are heavily parents in this region. So they would like to be on board. So we can help you with that. I've got a way to do that at the end. Partnerships in terms of community-based volunteering, that is virtually in person or both. In terms of the in-person, right now we have a vaccination strategy with our employees. We cannot have external team bonding or external under the flag of better team events where I would love to have folks. I know, again, I'm going to call you out, Alyssa, because she's a partner at Innovation Alley with us that She Built the City. Would love to have, just like Novant Health can come in and put kits together for DigiBridge. We cannot do that right now. We cannot wait to be able to do that off-site at one of your locations. Folks can take their weekends. That we're not policing their weekends. Absolutely, we'd love to put your flyers out and say, hey, this is an opportunity to get involved with XYZ organization. They need volunteers on Saturday. Totally up to you. I wish we could say that's under the Better banner, but we're like so many companies that from a liability standpoint, we just can't with vaccinations, et cetera. We are in a vaccination strategy that anyone who will be walking into our office from November 1st on will be fully vaccinated. So that opens the doors to have a few other opportunities in person in terms of at our location uptown. So if you have something that is January and beyond starting to plan, or you have a strategy where you work with companies at their locations, we will be a fully vaccinated employment site. We would go through with you how we would test. We would make sure that either someone's providing a vaccination card from your team, or you would be tested negative within XYZ days before you enter our site. But we can certainly work on that for a January timeframe. We would love that because our workplace hospitality team, which works for me, is phenomenal. There's that phenomenal word. You're just gonna remember phenomenal from this meeting. That and equity and access for all, right? But in terms of, we do things like, if anyone, I love Plant House Charlotte. It's my favorite local Instagram right now. They do those sit-ins for terrariums and are educating people about plants. We would love to have Plant House Charlotte come in and do a terrarium workshop for 30 employees. So think along those lines with us. Is we have a heavy culture base that is run by Workplace, where we are constantly, we're like a WeWork. We basically have community events that are going to be planned that will be going on at our site for small groups that are COVID safe, let's call it. So again, those are easy onboard opportunities with us as opposed to a longer term, financially based, grant-based CSR strategy. And then last but not least, so the ShareBite, again, you heard about that, community events or community nights within our office, and then office events and presentations and in-person volunteering. So detail footnotes, I'm looking through some of our notes for here, won't get into a lot of this. The one thing I will say is that we're really digging in on the 2,000 Google career certificates that we have committed across the country to say we will be hiring at least 2,000 across the country. Could that be 500 in Charlotte? Absolutely. We have 5 offices right now between Irvine. And so if you have peers as well of an affiliate in another office, Irvine, Oakland, New York City, and Houston has just stood up an office. Dallas has our better settlement services. So we do have a footprint that is actively growing in Texas if you do have affiliates there. But yeah, if you're in on the Google certificate, career certificates, that would be another place to onboard with us of saying, how can we put the folks that you serve and to help your statistics to work for us so that you have some hiring wins that again, help fuel your organization and the work that you do financially, et cetera. So we have a 1-pager for you because that was quick and that was a lot of words. And that was me just getting super excited like I always do. But for us, it's that board project first, our grand opening strategy in our campus in November. How can we work with you on the easy ramp onboards through January? Let's establish some partnerships. And then as we keep going into the horizon of 2022, Dana's team and our corporate team will have more opportunities from a corporate social responsibility strategy that is the longer term relationship. And then if you know anybody for a senior manager of diversity, equity, inclusion from our corporate space, we would love the referrals. So I think I can post it, or it's just an about better that Dana, have you already posted? I'm not really monitoring chat very well right now.
I will post it right now into the chat.
Awesome. And I'm getting a couple direct messages too of wish I had known about better when I'm going through my home buying process. I will sell the company all day long. I did my own refi. I tested the sauce. It was beautiful. It was 12 days. Simplest thing I've ever done. Reaffirmed my faith in this company. So please, if you're looking for a home or if you're looking for home ownership or a refi, please look at us because we are trying to change the world through our customers as well. How should we reach out if we are looking for board members and apprenticeships? Okay, the board members one, thank you, Dana. There's the 1-pager in the chat. The board memberships, basically what we are, do you also have, Dana, the how to get in touch with us? Because we have a Google form that we did for this meeting so that you all can say, hey, here I am, here's my organization, this is what we're focused on in bullets, basically racial, social equity, education, you all know the categories, and this is what our immediate need is. We would love to set up some time and talk. So it kind of introduces both companies to each other so that we can make sure to speak to you to what the needs are. Oh, the link is denying access. Welcome to us with Google.
Let me figure that out. I'm not sure. I have to take a second and figure out why it's denying you access. So we'll loop back on that.
Stand by. And we can do a PDF too after the fact that Julie and Amy and team can send out. Any physical questions while we're working on the technical? or verbal. I guess that wouldn't be physical. That's odd.
Where are you guys going to be located uptown?
Good question. You sound like every civic partnership. You sound like Charlotte Regional Business Alliance and JLL and Center City Partners. I will say it's on South Tryon. So we are, right now we're at Rail Yard WeWork in 2 very small rooms, and it is incredibly cramped for our, what we call MLOs or mortgage loan originators. It is about 3 blocks away. So it's kind of part of our grand opening in November with our civic engagement with the City of Charlotte and North Carolina, Governor's Office, et cetera, that Dana's team is helping us with, but we are right in the heart and the heat of everything, staring at multiple sports arenas that our team has already said, like, when do we get to go? Walking distance.
Good, thank you.
And also overlooking Romare Bearden Park. So from a social activism space, we would hope that at some point we could have our employees walk downstairs and out and walk over to help any organizations that are doing things in Romare Bearden Park.
Amazing. Hey, Dana, I think if you go to the little wheel, not to like get technical here, and ask for settings, it will, if you scroll down, there's a box that you click. But even if we don't get that figured out right now, I'm going to reshare everything after our meeting. So we're recording, we'll edit, package it all up with the one sheet and with actually the form that I have. And if I took a minute here, I can grab it. And I think I have access. The one that you created for everyone to reach out and talk to, communicate directly with you about partnership opportunities. So I have that, and I'm going to share with this whole audience and also with our shareholders who aren't here today. So Demi, I feel like I need to go get another cup of coffee. Don't y'all? You are phenomenal. And Dana, amazing. All of this information. I am just so blown away at how it is trailblazing, what you all are doing. And so much great information and amazing examples of how organizations can partner, right? You call it onboarding, but how they, and it really gets, I hope, everyone's wheels turning about how to get creative, right? For engaging better and really just corporate partnerships, right? So amazing insights. And it sounds like if you can think of it, there's a way to partner, right? You represent so many different causes, if you will, within your employee sector. So with your giant group of employees.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, I would just give you one final thought on what you're saying is, I know I've been in these myself on the flip side as a founder of a nonprofit, saying like, scrambling, got to find XYZ amount of money. We got to find this in terms of impact statistics. We've got some reports due to our shareholders and the board. Y'all, just look at this at every corporation and challenge us, right? To say, what are the immediate onboards? Get out of the grant thinking. And I know that funds a lot of your deal. So I'm on that train, but just think of like, from a for-profit, because I absolutely respect what you've taught me about the nonprofit space, but from the for-profit space, think like us of like, hey, they've got to feed their people. They've got to hire people. They've got to improve, I hate to say it this way, but improve some of the statistics of saying we are heavily white-based employees. So think like the pain of an HR manager internally, talk to us, happy to have chats about that of like, hey, how should I position myself? And that's me, Demi, speaking, partially because Better has these conversations. We're trying to change the game of that, of saying like, don't always look to a corporation to say, hey, it's these big grants, it's a long lead population or time frame. Think of us in immediate impact. You have a population you're serving and you have immediate impact needs just from the greater good, but then also for your own financial wherewithal and existence. And then so do we. So think like that. If we can give you any ideas, again, think of the food, think of the daycare, think of the after schools, think about people returning to work and how you could serve that immediate population come Q1 2022, or like for us, we're preempting that to talk about it in November and December. So start those conversations with corporations now.
Amazing. And you all, we hear so many times, I'm losing my voice, that you need board members and committee members and the intellectual capital of the employees at Better, and they're looking to get engaged. this is a mantra that I never get tired of, but put it on your share profile so that we can quickly see it, right? And so companies who are looking, and the Panthers who are looking, all these different organizations that are looking to get plugged in, it's a great way, even if it's a committee position, right, to get just exposure to the community members who are looking to find you. So Demi, again, and Dana, I'm so excited for all the work that you're doing. It's so important, and wow, I'm just a little blown away. So does anybody have any other specific questions before we close out? We're about a minute out here, but this was really helpful. You can look for my email. I'm going to send all of these forms out, and we'll get them to you along with because we might want to rewatch this morning. There was so much great information. But if you have any other questions, now's the time. And it looks like Demi is saying that you can go to LinkedIn, and so much great energy. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if any other questions, but this was such a great morning, so much great information, and really an opportunity for us to think about how to partner, I think, too, with not only Better, but other corporations as we move forward. So thank you, Demi and Dana, for being with us. And we'll hope that you all have a good rest of your day. And I think I'll wrap us because we're at 10 o'clock. Enjoy your day, everybody. Thanks so much again for being with us.